Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we are going to be planting mushrooms in the food forest. That's coming up next. So another great source of perennial food is mushrooms. Now luckily some types of mushrooms are really easy to grow, especially if you have high carbon materials for it to grow in. So for example, the mulch that you see in the food forest that we used last fall. So that's all been spread, and now we're going to inoculate it with this spawn. Now this is actually a wine cat mushroom, Stropharia rugosa annulata. It's a mushroom that grows well. It can be cultivated outdoors in wood chip mulch, and luckily it has some really nice benefits to it. It can basically handle kind of full sun as long as it gets partial shade, so it can be grown amongst things like vegetables. It can be grown in amongst food forest plants. It can be grown at the base of trees, somewhere where you still get some sun for warmth, but you also get some shade for the mushrooms themselves so the ground doesn't dry out. So this particular kit that I have here is Wine Cat Gourmet Mushroom Kit. It's about 4 pounds of sawdust spawn, and if we look inside, you see it's all kinds of what looks like kind of white mold throughout it, and that's the mycelium that's really inoculated and infected this sawdust. And this needs to be broken up and kind of spread throughout the grow area that we plan on using. So I'm going to get into that in a minute. But for now, this kit was bought through growmushroomscanada.ca. When they ship it, you can refrigerate it up until the time when you're going to plant. There are no details about how long that can be done, but my kit has been just sitting in our cellar for, let's say, the last maybe 2 weeks or so. So it was sitting at around 3 or 4 degrees. It looks pretty much the same as what it was when we first got it. So I can only assume at this point that it's still healthy spawn. So the instructions for these kits are fairly simple. Basically, all we need to do is have a bed of wood chips or a high carbon material. You can also have straw mixed in with soil, that kind of thing. And it can be grown in vegetable beds as long as there's some high carbon material in there with the vegetables, like pieces of wood chips and that kind of thing. In this particular case, like I said, we have the mulch forest behind us. A kit like this does about 10 square feet. So they tell you to dig basically an area that's about 4 inches deep, and this is where you spread it, and then you fill it in with wood chips. Now luckily the wood chips that I have here are really deep. They're about 1 foot deep. So I'm going to dig down about 4 inches or so, like they said, 4 to 5 inches, and I'm going to spread this around, and I'm going to basically rake it in, and over the period of the next, I guess, probably a couple months, it'll populate. We're not really going to be due for any hard frost anytime soon, so it's time to get planting. So I'll head over, we'll have a look and see, the prepared beds, so you guys can kind of, gauge how deep it needs to be in order to plant this stuff, and then we're going to get to planting afterwards. So I don't know if this is important or not, but I did dig down beforehand to see if the areas have been already populated with, some sort of, fungal matter. Now, there's nothing in here that I can see, and I've dug a few test places, but it looks like this area doesn't really have anything growing in it. Now, down below in the other section, down here, there's actually quite a bit of white threads and stuff going through things. Now, I don't know whether or not that will lead to competition, but I chose this area mainly because I didn't really see anything and I want this to be successful. So let's have a look. So you see, you just crumble it into the area that you want to inoculate, just like that, and you see the stuff is, it's kind of got threads and stuff in it, and that's all to it. You just drop it down there into that pit like that. Now you could easily do a bed for this stuff too, but I kind of wanted it to propagate up the middle, mainly because I know that this area is going to be somewhat shaded. So I think that this is going to work out pretty good. Now I just need to rake it back in, and hopefully we'll have mushrooms for food. Wow, I mean, that was easy. That had to be the easiest thing I've ever done. It almost makes me suspect that it's not going to work. I mean, I know mycelium are pretty robust, but like, it was a $30 mushroom kit. This will potentially produce for many, many years. And you can actually, once this is inoculated, you can use this as a source of more mycelium to move elsewhere. Luckily, I have 2 more kits that I'm going to try in 2 other areas that are a little bit different. One is a little more sheltered, and it's gets kind of midday to 4 o'clock sun. This one kind of gets sun mostly all day, but there's going to be some shade from a few things, so it'll be interesting to see if this one actually takes hold first, because the temperature here is going to be warmer. All right, so this bed that we see here in front of us actually is a forest edge bed that I put in about a year ago, and in here there's a variety of things. Some of them are herbs, sage, some winter savory, and some oregano. And along with that, along this bed, we actually have planted our asparagus. Now, we've actually intercropped asparagus and strawberries, and they're kind of 12 to 18 inches apart. So the plan here is I have at least kind of 6 small areas. They're about 1.5 to 2 square feet per area, and I'm going to inoculate these, and then I'm going to bury it back in. All right, so as quickly as that, it was about 30 minutes. We have 3 areas planted out, so it works out to be about maybe 36 square feet, I think, is kind of around where we are on the area side. So yeah, 3 areas and 30 minutes, and hopefully, you know, it adds a good perennial source of food. I guess we're going to find out this summer. So have you guys grown mushrooms? If you have, by all means, leave comments below. I'd be super interested in hearing what your results were like, and you know, what your yields were like. Spring is in full swing. We're going to have another video coming soon. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time.